That's right. We are right here at Sharp Facets Gallery, as we are every afternoon this time of the day. And today our very special guest is Bob Merritt. He's running as an independent petition candidate for State House District number 13. How you doing today, Bob Merritt?
Doing very well, Ian.
Doing very well, yeah. How's the race going there, Bob?
It's very interesting. It's a full-time job. It's tough. It's difficult when you have two other jobs.
Non-paid full-time job right now.
Non-paid full-time job. I'm enjoying getting out and meeting the people of Greenwood County and hearing what their concerns are and seeing what we can do in the future to resolve those concerns.
Absolutely. Now, of course, you were running as a Democrat,
exactly.
And then you recused yourself because you felt that some of your paperwork wasn't quite right. Correct?
Exactly.
And then you went back and got enough signatures to be able to be put back on, which I commend you for. That was a lot of signature. How many was that now?
We ended up with a little over 13, right at 1,200, I believe. Not certain right now, but let me clarify. I filed exactly the way the Greenwood County Elections Commission said to file.
Sure.
And that's where the bug of the fly in the ointment came in.
Yes, so you did everything that you thought that you were told was correct.
Darned if you do and darned if you do.
But so you filed as a Democrat, you recused yourself, then you went out and got the signatures, and now you're on the ballot as a petition candidate. Your name is on the ballot.
Yes, ma'am, it is on the ballot. You have to actually go down and fill in the blank or actually vote for me as a petition candidate.
Absolutely. So now that you're a petition candidate, have you found, is there any difference between being a Democratic candidate and a petition candidate, or where do you stand there?
I have the same political views that I had before. I've always been an independent person. I've always prided myself on being a common sense conservative. Mm-hmm. Party labels are too easy to hide behind. And one time I'd made a comment. I said, Lord, it'd be nice to have an election where everybody has to run as without a party label. They have to run as an independent. Therefore, they have to stand up and tell the people what they believe in, what they stand for. Government by sound bites is killing us. We can't simply continue accepting politicians saying I'm a fiscal conservative. I support education. They're going to have to answer and elaborate on that. Tell us exactly what they do stand for. And I think we're selling ourselves, and I mean us as the voters, I think we're selling ourselves short when we allow politicians to skirt the hard issues and not appear at every public forum they have an opportunity to answer the hard questions.
That's right. And, you know, the nice thing I like about what we do here is we've got a whole hour to do this. We're not constrained by 3 and 5 minutes like so many of the forums are constrained.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, that does make it good. Now, of course, in the past, you did work with Senator Drummond, and you went on an honor flight, and you were the guardian for Senator Drummond. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was very interesting. We spent the night in Columbia, down from the airport. Got up at 5:30 that morning to head up to Washington. Arrived in Washington around 9. We got off the plane.
And did they hose down the plane?
They hosed the plane down.
Which is
it was
only
unbelievable.
for, yeah,
it was
only for.
You're looking out the window and you see the jets from the of water coming over the plane, and you see the rainbow that the water forms. It was very, very moving. It was the veterans were receiving the respect that they very, very, very well deserve.
Absolutely. You know that putting the fire hoses, they only do that for dignitaries and the president. It's a very small group that they do that for, but the veterans are in that very special group.
They deserve it.
Absolutely, they do. So how is Senator Drummond?
He's doing very well. He had an excellent time in Washington. He was a few times he got emotional with the welcoming and the thanks, and you know I choked up several times. It takes a hard man to go through the ceremonies and read the words on the monuments in Washington and to see the sacrifices that fighting men and women of our country have made and not get choked up.
Absolutely. I was privileged to go on one back in May, and I tell you, one of the things that impressed me about it Well, I mean, there were many things, but the young kids coming up and the high school kids coming up at the World War II monument, shaking the hands of our veterans up there. That was, and it really moved the veterans to think these kids would go out of their way to do that.
The interesting, we had one group of veterans, I can't remember what state they were from, but they had a T-shirt on that I found rather humorous. It said, "If you can read this, thank a teacher. If you can read this in English, thank a veteran."
Absolutely. Now, there you go. That's a great statement. But, of course, you were with Senator Drummond down there in Columbia for many years, weren't you?
I worked with and for him for about 18 years.
And what exactly did you do for Senator Drummond?
I was his chief of staff for the Senate Finance Committee and his director of research for the Fish, Game, and Forestry Committee. I also acted as liaison to the Budget and Control Board, and one of my main duties was handling constituent requests, constituent matters, constituent concerns. If a constituent had a problem, I was generally the first point of contact to try to break through the bureaucracy and see if we couldn't come up with a resolution of the problem.
Sounds like even though you haven't run for public office, you've had a lot of experience there.
It's been a good experience, and the best part of it is the experience I got there was not coming straight from college to a staffer in the South Carolina Senate. I was a police officer in North Charleston Police Department right out of college. I taught and coached at Core High School and North Charleston High School. I was a deputy sheriff in Charleston County Sheriff's Office and also a probation, parole, and pardons agent with Charleston County before I went back to law school in 1981.
Wow. So all this type of experience. Now, what are you doing now? I know you're running for office, but what are you doing right now?
Right now, I'm besides running for office, I still have a private practice that I'm engaged in, trying to wrap up some cases. And also I'm teaching a criminal justice class at Lander University.
Okay. How do you like teaching at Lander?
I love Lander. It's a good bunch of students that I have. They challenge me, and I believe I challenge them. It's two different perspectives. Sometimes they look at me like I'm from Mars, and sometimes I look at them like they're from Venus. It's two different perspectives on policing.
Yeah, the world, it is a-changing, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is.
It is. Well, we are here with Bob Merritt. We are going to be talking for the whole hour. Hey, if you've got a question or a comment for him, don't hesitate to give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. He is running for State House District number 13. That was Gene Pinson's seat, right?
Yes.
That's
yes,
right, because Gene has retired and Bob Merritt would like that seat. We are going to talk to you some more, but right now we're going to hear a quick word from our sponsors, so don't you go away. Oh, that's right. We're right back here at Sharp Facets Gallery. We have Bob Merritt. He is running for State House District number 13. You know, one of the things that we were just talking about, your teaching, and you're very concerned about constitutionality on things, aren't you, Bob?
Very much so. I think we've gotten too far away from our Constitution.
And is that a bad thing?
It's a very bad thing. I think the Constitution is the bedrock of our whole foundation, our whole legal system.
Well, isn't it kind of outdated?
Absolutely not. Those geniuses, when they created the Constitution, they knew exactly what they were doing. And I think we have strayed some from what their original intentions were.
So what do you think about, so we have a lot of laws that are being challenged, of course, by constitutionality. And what do you think about where the country is headed, not only the country, but also on a state level? Because if you're elected to this office, you're going to be dealing with state issues. Are there any laws that you think are unconstitutional that are in the state level right now?
That's a tough question. I do believe that the federal government passes edicts down to the state governments that the state governments should rightly challenge. We used to call it unfunded mandates when I was with the Finance Committee. The federal government will pass an unfunded mandate down, or they'll pass a mandate down that we'll fund it for 2 or 3 years, and it's in your hands to fund.
Isn't that the problem that Governor Haley has had with some of the things that were coming down, and even Governor Sanford, that these things would cost us? It's great you could take the money, like for teachers' pay. I think that was one of them, wasn't it?
Right.
That just came down. But what do you do after that year?
I tell you what, you have to, when you look at the budget, you have to look at the overall budget, and the overall budget in South Carolina is growing, but funding for education is decreasing. The per pupil amount that goes to the pupil, to the student. is actually decreasing. I want to get to Columbia and see what that problem is. Where are we expanding other areas out there that education is being cut for per student funding?
Well, I know if we didn't have the lottery, some of our schools in our higher education, we had, I call them the lottery girls here yesterday afternoon,
Absolutely.
talking about all the benefits that come in from the lottery, and with the decreasing budgets, you're absolutely right, the lottery has certainly taken up the slack.
And I believe also that the other areas of the budget that we need to look at is what people call mission creep.
Such as?
Mission creep is a college or university or a agency expanding its duties unnecessarily. It's all of a sudden you have you have a teaching college that decides they want to institute a nursing school or institute a engineering school.
So expanding their basis.
Expanding their mission, and it's a you
but
maybe
isn't that how a college would grow, though?
Not public education,
Okay.
not a state college. I think a state college, if we have as fine of a public higher education institutions in this state as anywhere in the nation, but you cannot divide your resources when they're, especially when they're as limited as they are. I think that the colleges have to decide what their mission is, and we have, as a state, we have the responsibility to help them strengthen their missions. Whether it's engineering, it's business, it's teaching, it's whatever, nursing, medical school, we strengthen their mission, but we don't allow it to ease over in other areas that, just because it may be an area of interest to someone.
So if you're getting $100 and your main mission is teaching, you don't divide that $100 over with a new program put in there. You keep the $100 on the program that is your main mission.
Now that's my feeling. I just don't think that you need to be weakening the impact of the resources. The limited resources
if you have another major there, right, you can add more students, and therefore you can raise more money.
But money and tuition will go up. You'll have more responsibility. I just don't see the if there's a college or university that has an outstanding program, a part of their mission, then let's build on something that's strong now instead of weakening and I like to say dividing our resources. That's like, I never thought we'd see 2 law schools in South Carolina. We do.
Right.
We have one.
Same thing with the medical now, don't we? Don't we have upstate and?
We just have. I think we still just have the Medical University of South Carolina. So
okay.
I guess the doctors have more clout than the lawyers have. but it is at the. It's a balancing act that you have to look at, and as Commissioner of Higher Education, but Betty Horn here, Greenwood, one of our Greenwood people, she does an excellent job on there. And Betty's always watching for how you're going to get the most bang for the buck in higher education. If we have watchdogs like Betty on there, I feel confident that we'll keep on that, keep down the right path. Betty knows, she knows higher education. She knows how to squeeze the dollar.
Absolutely. Well, so you believe they should stay to their mission and not be expanding on higher education. Now, what about some of the issues, though, with our K through 12? I mean, we just had SAT scores come back in, not that good. Some improved, but not that good overall, and some of the other issues that we're dealing with in education.
I'm going to tell you right now, I believe a lot of the problems we have in public education, SAT scores included, originate in Washington. They flow down to the state, and then you have people in Columbia who are legislating education issues that they have no clue about. I believe the classroom teacher needs to be listened to. The classroom teacher is the one who is delivering the services. They're on the front line of education. They can tell you what works and what doesn't work. I believe that we have to establish programs where the family is an integral part of their children's education. That's where that's where education should start. You cannot this simplistic approach now to grading teachers A, B, C, F, whatever it is. To me, it's degrading. It's demeaning. You can't grade a teacher based on the product that she puts out if she doesn't have quality product coming in. And let's face
What's quality product? Meaning the students?
Meaning the students and
okay.
the environment. You have a child at home with one parent. Or you have a child at home who doesn't have breakfast in the morning. You have a child at home who hears his parents who gets no parental support. And then you're going to send that child into a public school and expect that teacher to perform miracles? No. But I think we need to develop programs where the family and the school are integrally entwined, with the main concern being their child's education. I would imagine that a child going to an affluent school district should have higher grades and higher SAT scores than one going to a lesser affluent school district. And I just think it's time that we get back to the basics of education, as far as letting the teachers, put the teachers at the table first, the administrators at the table. But we can resolve this education issue, but we can't have Columbia with the superintendent of education presenting down pronouncements of what he thinks is wrong with public education, instead of trying to build on what's right.
Okay. And what about being able to what are they called, the schools, the charter schools, and what about being able to go to whatever school seems to work?
I think charter schools have a place in our educational system now, and whether we agree or disagree with them, I think they're here to stay. I think they've shown some they've had some tremendous success stories with charter schools. If charter school is not going to perform, then it won't be in existence very long. There's still enough oversight from the school board to allow them to function. Now you speak about choice.
Mm-hmm. School choice, that's what it is, yes.
Now, my definition of school choice is, if Greenwood High School has a program that would benefit a student in the 96 school district, then that 96 school district student should be able to attend Greenwood School.
Sure.
For that program, and vice versa, where it shows that all the schools. That's my definition of school choice. I don't know what your definition is.
Well, I mean, that is one of the things, and also, though, being able to decide whether your child is homeschooled online, or whether they go to a charter school or a traditional school.
Oh, I homeschool my children. For my wife and I spent 2 years homeschooling my Sarah Jane's in the 7th grade in the ACTS program at Brewer, and Annie's at 10th grade at Greenwood High School. And I'm a proponent of homeschooling. I think the homeschooling is a wonderful program for families if they want to so choose. I think the online schooling is tremendous. I like that approach, where one size education does not fit all, and I think we're doing a good job from that perspective.
Absolutely. All right, well, we are talking a little bit about this. We'll be talking about a lot of different subjects here today as we get ready to see whether Bob Merritt is your candidate. That's right. You're going to have to make up your mind in less than a month now, Bob. How does it feel to be nearing the end? I mean, this is where it really revs up, but how does it feel to be nearing the end?
I tell you what, I cannot wait to wake up on November the 7th. Just knowing it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, it's time consuming, but it's by the same token, you knew what you're getting into when you offered for office.
Absolutely.
And my hat's off to any man or woman who will throw their hat into the ring. And the critics on the outside can criticize all they want to, but if they don't, if they want to be in the ring, the more the merrier. The more the welcome to come in.
Absolutely. I think it was a travesty what our state went through with candidates in and out and on and off the ballot. I think that I personally think that the state could have solved that a long time ago before we ever got to the point that we did here across the state. But that's just my personal opinion, and I'll hold to it. All right, I'm Ann Eller right here, and I'm with Bob Merritt, running for State House District number 13. When we come back, if you've got a question for Bob, don't hesitate to give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. We'll be back after the news, and of course, you'll be able to get a lot more information if you stay tuned. By the way, we will have a podcast on our website, as we do for all of our candidates, and there'll be the video posted on YouTube. So lots of ways to be able to check this out. A lot of people have liked the idea that we're doing YouTube videos because they get to see the candidate, and I think that makes a difference, don't you, Bob?
I believe so.
Absolutely. Well, let's hear the news, and we'll be right back.
Are you a pirate or a pack rat? Do you have a vacation of a lifetime sitting in the attic? or a college tuition hung on a wall, or is a fabulous retirement hidden in your jewelry box? Bring those items to Sharp Facets Gallery. We can establish value and buy from you or sell for you. And so ends another chapter at Sharp Facets Gallery, 72 Bypass, and on the web, sharpfacets.com.
Oh, that's right. We're right back here at Sharp Facets Gallery this afternoon talking with Bob Merritt. He is, of course, an attorney. He's a professor at Lander. And he spent 18 years down there in Columbia as chief of staff and counsel to the Senate Finance Committee for Senator Drummond. So I know you know what you're getting into here, right?
I think so.
Yeah. You're not going to be coming back to me saying, I had no idea. I've had some politicians that got in there and didn't believe, particularly on the national level, I'll say, that they had no idea how bad it really was in Washington, D.C.
I can believe that.
You know, and of course we're still dealing with that, and of course we've got a major election, but you know, they always say that the elections close to home and your state elections are as important or maybe more important than even the federal government. So this is why we sit down and do this. But Bob is running for the State House District number 13. That was Gene Pinson's old seat, just for the record, because everybody knew Gene Pinson. But you know, we were talking a little bit about a lot of different things while we were off the air, and of course one of the issues that are passionate for me, and I know a lot of people, are the veterans. And we have so many veterans coming back. We've had General Livingston on. We've had several people on talking about the different programs, the job opportunities that they're putting together. But Bob, if you end up down there in the House, what is your thoughts about our veterans?
One thing South Carolinians can take pride in is I remember the first Desert Storm, and you saw the Swamp Fox emblem on those jets over there, and I know the contributions that our soldiers were making on the ground and in the air. We owe them.
Absolutely.
They won't tell you we owe them, but we owe them. They're heroes. They served. They left their family. They left their home to go overseas and fight for a cause that was just. They come back and they have adjustment periods where you know, all of a sudden you're hearing mortars falling around you, you're in a combat zone, or you're a very rigid
PTSD,
schedule.
yes.
And you know, we owe it to them to help them with, when they come back, with job training, education, medical cares, medical issues.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that I think a lot of people, and I don't know if this has changed or not, because this has been a topic that has come up, is we have people that are trained by the U.S. military to do a job, do it well. They come out of the military, they're already trained, and yet they can go to an employer sometimes and be told you don't have the training when they do have the training. It needs to be given absolute, as much authority as if they had gone to school for it.
Exactly, I agree with you totally, and that's something that maybe we can look at.
Right.
See if we can encourage something.
But what do you, and you know, we have so many that are coming back with different types of injuries than they have at any other wartime because of the drones, because of these LEDs, or is that right? IEDs, that it's really changed. You know, we see veterans coming back with one leg or not even having, and they're mobile, they're doing things. We've got to make sure that they can continue to be that in our world today.
The veterans today, in an earlier conflict, would not have received the medical attention as immediately as they did, and therefore you will have veterans who have lost limbs and are having to readjust to injuries as such. And I do believe that's the one of the marks of the society is how we take care of our military soldiers who have served us in times of need.
And not only that, the families.
And the families.
Yes.
And you're so right there, because people forget what the family sacrificed.
Sure.
These soldiers away from their wives, their mothers, their fathers, their children for such an extended period of time, and prayers going up from everybody for their safe return. And it's just at Carolina game last week when I don't know if you saw the halftime ceremony where the they brought one of the soldiers back to see his family at a halftime, and it was if you didn't cry over that,
you don't have a heart.
You don't have a heart.
You don't have a heart. Yeah. But so the veterans are an issue that needs to be addressed. Now, I do know that General Livingston have made immense amount of strides in doing this, and that leads us into the next discussion, which would be on jobs. Now, everybody's talking about jobs, and jobs are the answer to a lot of issues. But what do you see if you go down to Columbia? How are you going to be able to serve the people of Greenwood and the district?
I believe that the catchphrase now is we have to think globally.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we do have to think globally, but we also have to think regionally. If industry locates in this region, there's potential there for employment for all of our people. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to locate in Greenwood County for it to have a rippling effect for jobs creation in Greenwood County. I believe that we have to start working together with with other counties to put the best package on the table for industries that are really considering this area, and that would be one of my issues. I think the Department of Commerce is designed to recruit large industries, mm-hmm. but small businesses and can also create wealth and create jobs. And I'd like to see more of an emphasis on some of the small business incubators, or what you want to call it, that to bring them in also. We were in Germany at a Chamber of Commerce meeting back in the 90s, and we had 40 German businessmen there. And they were very excited about the opportunity to perhaps partner with an American businessman and import, export, and they gave us cards, and we brought them and took them back to the Department of Commerce in the like I said, this in the 90s, and there was no follow-up. And I think the reason there's no follow-up is the Department of Commerce, as I said, they do a good job recruiting big industry, mm-hmm. but this 10, 15, 20 employee business that might come in, they're not quite as
well, they definitely don't look at any, what shall we say, they do tax breaks, they do forgiveness of this and forgiveness of that when you're looking at big business. But when you're looking at that small employer, you're right. There's not an advantage given to that small employer 90% of the time. Maybe sometimes there is. I'm not going to say 100% of the time.
And we need to give them the attention that they deserve also. One of the problems in South Carolina right now is we can all identify the problems, mm-hmm. But when it comes time for solutions, sometimes we don't have the political guts to do anything.
We could say that about redoing our tax code here in South Carolina. There's a big one. I talked to someone a few weeks ago, and they go, "Oh, well, we'll get to that next year." Listen,
our tax code has been studied and restudied and regurgitated, but we've got to go ahead and it's time to do something about it rather than just talk about it. We did. I mentioned that 1992, the infrastructure of South Carolina was studied. It was called the South Carolina's Crumbling Infrastructure. Wonderful report. It was cost tag at that time was $60 billion to bring our infrastructure up to where it should be for future economic development. And because of $60 billion cost tag, it was put on the shelf. And I would imagine that $60 billion is $500 billion by now.
Well, I think one of the biggest things is we haven't addressed infrastructure since 2007 at least. I mean, when everything started going down, that was the first thing that they pulled is doing that. Yes.
At least.
So that creates problems futuristically for our state. But when you look at what Greenwood area, have you had any thoughts about what type of industry would be good to bring into this area? I know I'm putting you on the spot,
no,
Bob.
that's no, because this period in our economic development period, or whatever you want to call it, we hope we skirted the Great Recession. Obviously Fuji has enough faith in Greenwood County, our workforce, and our people. They've made tremendous investments in Greenwood County. You have Capstone, you have the research centers like the Genetics Center.
Mm-hmm. which the Genetics Center is doing tremendous things, and they
And they are known internationally for their efforts.
absolutely.
Also,
And I think one of our biggest problems, Bob, is the fact that we have a population, we have young people going to school, they're getting educated for today's jobs, but the group that has kind of been forgotten is that 45, 55 up age group
Right.
that was working in the mills, and today they are literally, a lot of them, unemployable.
and that's a good question. I tell you what, that's something that I think we all need to sit down and talk about and see if we can come up with a solution on that, resolution, or at least start approaching a solution for it.
Sure, and I'm sure that's not just in this area, but across the state, because the state was famous for having so many mills across the state. So even
Exactly.
though we had Greenwood mills here, there were mills all across our state.
Right.
But as far as any industry, you haven't really, did any type of industry that you think would be good to come to this area?
I believe any industry that we could get, BMW as an example. BMW, not BMW, but the spin-off industries that came in
All
with
the things
BMW.
that are necessary, right?
There's, perhaps there are industries that we can go back to talking regionally. Perhaps there's an industry that would come into Greenville, Spartanburg, and we could be we could have the spin-off industries from that. Ideally, yeah, we'd get a BMW, but realistically,
No, we're
No.
not going to get a BMW.
but if we could get some of that
Maybe
spin-off,
we could get a Yugo.
but if we could get some of that, but if we could get some of the spin-off industries from major industries like that, it would be nice.
You know, one of the things that has happened, though, that has made us more accessible is the fact that 25 is 4-lane. So when you talk about going to Greenville, or you start talking about going through Abbeville in that area, transportation as far as moving about
Right.
is not that big an issue unless you talk about gas.
Right,
You know,
right,
and that type
right.
of thing, and that makes a difference.
And one other area out there too that we keep forgetting about, and to go back to regional again, the Port of Charleston. We've got to keep Port of Charleston competitive on the international scene, and that's going to cost money. And it's going to people can't quite realize, people can't necessarily wrap their arms around the fact that the Port of Charleston is such a lifeline for our economic.
Well, and it affects the upstate as well as that area.
It affects us all.
That's right. And I think, if I remember correctly, last year by the end of the legislature, they have made the plan. And since that point, I do believe the federal government has come on board and said that they will do some of the studies. But we have the money set aside should that need to be done.
That's a good plan.
Absolutely. But and then of course we have the aging issue. We are, of course, Greenwood and the surrounding area is very great for retirees. We need some more services, I think, to help the retirees so they can stay in their homes and so they can public transportation. I realize most of the time when I talk to politicians, they tell me there ain't no way, Ann, but there's got to be some way to move our people so that transportation does not become an issue for an elderly person.
And we, I guess it's 2002, Governor Sanford instituted the MAP Study Committee, and I was lead staff for that. And we looked at the contracts of some of the social service agencies that they were administering. They were paying way too much for what they were getting.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way to get the most bang for every buck, and meet the needs of the people. I think you're exactly right. The elderly need some need some care. They need some attention. They need some services out there. I'd love to see the private, public, and faith sector start working together to address some of these issues. After all, that's what our Savior told us we needed to do. We needed to help the old, help the elderly, help the widow, help the children, and
Well, you could throw in education in there because there's some fine buses running around here with the educational things too.
You're right. You're
Yeah,
exactly right.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. And I think that there's some things that we could look at.
But will we look at it, Bob? That's my question. Will we look at it? Will something develop out of it?
I will tell you this: with the lieutenant governor we have in Columbia right now, who's over the Commission on Aging,
Who will be sitting here next week, sitting down with me next Wednesday?
Glenn McConnell. You need to ask him about this specific issue. Glenn McConnell is probably the most caring, compassionate person for the elderly that I've ever known. It's his calling.
But he didn't realize it was, did he?
Well,
I don't think he did.
I don't, not like he has now.
Right,
He has
that's what
got a
I'm saying,
passion.
yeah.
He has a passion for it. And I think that that's an issue that you need to raise with him, and you can assure him that Bob Merritt said,
Okay.
if he is in Columbia, I will work with him in every way possible to address those needs.
Yeah.
But he is a leader, and he is a person that can get some things done.
Absolutely. Well, since we're speaking a little bit about Columbia, Bobby Harrell is kind of under the gun here. What do you think about this political funds and the reimbursements and this type of thing? What are you thinking about what could be going on here?
I'm going to give you the answer that an independent can give you.
An independent can give us, okay.
I'm appalled. I think it's a real problem. When the Speaker of the House reimburses himself $325,000 out of a political action committee and says, well, I complied with the law. You know, complying with the law and doing the right thing are sometimes two different things. I mean, there's an ethical issue there. If it doesn't look right, you have to step back and say, is it right? I have some real problems with that. Contributions being given from that political action committee to individual candidates out there, it makes one wonder. It causes you to pause and say, well, who are you loyal to now? Mm-hmm. To the people who put you there, or to the Speaker? And like I said, as an independent, I'm gonna call it like I see it. And I think that's a real problem. I'm appalled by the amount, and I'm appalled that there's a political action committee controlled by the Speaker of the House that actually can dole out contributions to preferred candidates. I think that's just another. You have to be careful the way I say it, but it could lead to some real ethical issues down the line. I was down whenever Operation Lost Trust was launched back in the 90s, and trust me, we may be heading for the same type of situation if we don't sit back and get control of the ethics going on in Columbia.
What do you think about Governor Haley's idea of having a totally separate ethics commission?
I think she's heading in the right direction. I do not believe it should be the State Ethics Commission. And the reason I say that is my experience with the State Ethics Commission is you go on their website, you pull up a list of candidates who owe $50,000, and you look and see what they did. Well, they didn't file a paper, and they're running for the school board in a small county. Mm-hmm. And so they have this giant list of uncollected fines with these candidates. If a candidate offers for office, you don't need to be sitting there and piling on. Sometimes it's hard to even pay the filing fee. But I think that if there's a way to come up with a separate ethics commission.
Well, isn't that what she's talking about?
Well, she's talking about putting it under the State Ethics Commission.
Okay.
And my response to that is it does not need to go under the State Ethics Commission.
Should it be totally separate then?
I think there have been several proposals out there that haven't gotten very far that I think are strong proposals. We've had the Inspector General. We said let's create the Inspector General as an independent entity that can go into an agency, any office, any agency, see what's wrong, go in, get the information, and be out within a month. We have a cumbersome system now called the Legislative Audit Council. You have to make a request to the Legislative Audit Council. They have to consider the request. Then they have to send people out. It may be 18 months before they get a report back to you on what the problem is. I haven't seen anybody in Columbia pushing the Inspector General proposal. I think it's a wonderful proposal. Last one who proposed it was Senator Lander from when he was Comptroller General. We don't have that's an accountability office if you want an accountability office.
Do you think we have transparency down there in
Absolutely
Columbia?
not.
Absolutely not.
No, absolutely not. People talk. The people who talk about transparency are generally the ones like the ones who are hiding behind phrases. I've told you we cannot continue to have government by soundbite.
I agree.
I tell you that I'm for transparency, and I don't come and I don't return your call, or I don't appear before the people, or that's not transparency. That's a soundbite. It sounds good, but it's not reality. I want if you want transparency, I may be the most transparent person that's out there, for better or for worse. And I've aggravated, my stance on things. I'm sure it aggravates people. When I say I'm a Second Amendment person, I'm sure I'm aggravating people on this, who aren't. But I believe you tell the people where you stand, and you owe them that. They trust you, then you should tell them where you stand. But transparency in government, from the governor's office all the way down, I say there is not transparency in government. and I'd like somebody to prove me wrong.
Interesting. You know, one of the things that has come to light to me when dealing with some of our politicos and everything is that they no longer have cell phones that are government issued.
Exactly.
And that means, what does that mean, Bob?
That means that the public will not have access to any emails or any calls made to that telephone. And it's
That was an interesting change, wasn't it?
It was. It's very
It
interesting.
was good when it was sold as a budget issue, correct?
Exactly. But we know what it was done for, and it succeeded.
Mm-hmm.
It has succeeded. It's a getting back to the open government and transparency and freedom of information. When I was working, we had a freedom of information request. As soon as that freedom of information request came in, I picked the telephone up and called the person making the request. And I would say, just want to let you know I have your request. Is there anything that I can try to find for you in particular that you're concerned about? You know, I didn't look at it as an adversarial role. And if you try to stonewall people, then it looks like it is. You're trying to hide something. And
We've kind of that issue here in Greenwood, haven't we?
Kind of. You're exactly right.
Exactly.
And it's a I'm an open book as far as for dealings with government. I think we need to get back to that. I think right now, unfortunately, in this technological age, you can hide behind technology and not and say what you believe on a website, but you can't. But you don't want to get in front of the people and have them ask you any hard questions that you have to give hard answers to.
Absolutely. Well, we are with Bob Merritt this afternoon. I certainly have enjoyed our conversation here. You are running for State House District number 13. You got about 3 minutes to tell the folks why they should vote for you, and you are on the ballot as a petition candidate. So go ahead and talk to us.
Well, I feel that I'm experienced, and some would say I'm a bureaucrat, but I always thought I was an anti-bureaucrat. We were the ones who were representing the people down in Columbia, and it's one of our constituents, Senator Drummond's constituents, was having any problems, and we would go to the agency ourselves and see if we couldn't get it straightened out. There have been many times that we would have the agency meet with the person in Greenwood who was having the problem. I'm accessible. I will call you back. I do not mind answering questions. I'll give you a straightforward answer. When I get to Columbia, I'll hit the ground running. It won't be a learning curve for me. I'll know where it is. I'll know where this is. I'll know how to go and do this. I'll know how the agencies work. I'll know that whenever an agency puts in a regulation, and we always complain about the regulations, the agency puts in a regulation, I'll know that regulation needs to be looked at. It needs to be looked at in subcommittee. It needs to be looked at by the full committee. You cannot have agencies ruling by regulation and making law. I believe that I have a heart for people. I just love people, and I'm not a partisan person. I've seen how you can accomplish great things working both sides of the aisle.
We have forgotten that, by the way. I think
we have. I think we've got to the point now that if he does it, and he's a Democrat, he's wrong. But if he does it, he's a Republican, he may be right. Or if he does it and he's a Republican, he may be and we've got to start calling it like we see it. And that's why I like the petition candidacy. I'm the same person.
So you didn't even know you would like it, and here you are, totally happy.
I'm a petition candidate. I'm an independent person, but I tell you what, I would represent the people of Greenwood District 13 first, last, and always if they give me the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, we have been here with State House District number 13. That's the office he's running for. His name is Bob Merritt. Now, Bob, you are going to be at some of the other forums around that'll be happening.
Right. They're having the Greenwood Chamber, I understand, is having a forum at the Greenwood Community Theater next Tuesday, the 16th, I believe, at 5 o'clock. And I'll be there. I'm hoping Citizens for Better Government will have another forum like they had before the Republican primary.
This is WCRS right here in Greenwood. Go ahead, Bob.
But I'm hoping that they'll have another forum.
I think they're having one over in Abbeville too on the 22nd. Maybe it is. The teachers group is having one. I don't know if that affects you or not. But it certainly is always a pleasure to sit down and talk to you, and I wish you the best of luck. Bob Merritt.
Thank you very much. It's my honor and my privilege.
All right. That's going to do it for us. This is WCRS right here in Greenwood. Yes, I'm Ann Eller. Yes, I've been here with Bob Merritt running for State House District 13. very short period of time to make up your mind, folks. So get out there. Now, Bob, if somebody wanted to call you, we ought to give out your telephone number. And do you have a website or not?
I'm working on the website, but my telephone number will be my cell phone, and you're welcome to call that. It's 864-377-4326.
Okay, 377-4326. 864. Call Bob, talk to him. If you've got questions or concerns, find out about all these things before the election. But most important is, I like to say, be informed, and then please vote on
Absolutely.
November 6th. That's going to do it for us. This is WCRS right here in Greenwood. Bye-bye, everybody.